On Sunday, while traveling on Air Force One, President Trump made a surprising statement. When reporters asked if he would give Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine, he said, "We'll see. I might." Those few words caused alarm in Moscow and gave new hope to Kyiv. Now, the real question isn't whether this will make the war worse, it's how much worse it could get. To understand why this is important, we need to know what Tomahawk missiles actually are. These aren't ordinary weapons. Tomahawk missiles can be launched from ships or from the ground, and they have an incredible range of about 2,500 kilometers. That's around 1,500 miles. This means Ukraine could hit targets deep inside Russia, even reaching Moscow and other military bases far from the front lines. In comparison, the ATACMS missiles Ukraine currently uses can only travel about 190 miles. Tomahawks completely changed the situation. Since Russia began its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, Ukraine's president has repeatedly asked Western allies for long-range weapons. Cities like Kyiv have suffered constant attacks from Russian drones and missiles. As winter nears, Russia has also been deliberately destroying Ukraine's energy system, leaving millions of people without power and in the dark. Families are forced to stay warm in freezing apartments. Hospitals rely on backup generators to keep running. Children do their homework by candlelight. Ukraine has tried to fight back using its own weapons, like the Neptune anti-ship missile and the Flamingo ground-launched cruise missile, but these don't have the same range or power as Tomahawks. Kyiv needs stronger weapons to target the command centers, supply depots, and airfields that keep Russia's war going. That's where President Trump comes in. In recent months, his attitude toward Russia has become much tougher. Frustrated by Vladimir Putin's refusal to agree to a ceasefire, Trump's patience is wearing thin. He met with Putin in Alaska back in August, hoping to reach a peace deal within 24 hours. But that effort has lost steam. Now Trump is thinking about a completely different approach, giving Ukraine weapons that could strike deep inside Russia. He told reporters he might use the Tomahawks as leverage, saying, "I might tell Russia that if the war isn't resolved, we may end up sending them." Do they really want Tomahawks coming their way? I don't think so. But this isn't only about military power. It's also a political move. Trump wants to pressure Putin back to the negotiating table, and the Tomahawks are his bargaining tool. If Putin refuses to talk peace, Ukraine could get the missiles. This is high-stakes poker with huge global risks. Russia is not staying quiet. It has issued very strong warnings that have worried even expert analysts. So what is Moscow saying, and why do they want to stop this so badly? Their response shows how seriously they view the threat. On Sunday, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov called the idea of Tomahawks extremely concerning and added something chilling. If Tomahawks were fired at Russia, Moscow might not be able to tell whether they carried regular explosives or nuclear warheads. So think about it. Russia would have only minutes to decide if a Tomahawk is a nuclear attack. Peskov asked, "What should Russia think? How should it react?" And that wasn't just talk. It was a hint that Russia might respond with nuclear force. Then former President Dmitry Medvedev made the warning worse. He posted that sending these missiles could end badly for everyone, especially for Trump. Medvedev and Trump have exchanged threats before. Last August, Medvedev's warnings led Trump to move 2 nuclear submarines closer to Russia. This has become personal, and Medvedev seems serious. Medvedev often says out loud what Putin himself can't say publicly. So when he threatens Trump directly, it shows just how much Russia fears these missiles. On Wednesday, Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov took things even further, warning of serious and far-reaching consequences if Tomahawks are sent to Ukraine. He argued that Ukraine couldn't use these advanced weapons on its own. Without the software and launchers, the missiles are just empty shells, Ryabkov said. Their use would only be possible with direct involvement from American personnel. That's the heart of Russia's argument, that giving Tomahawks to Ukraine would mean U.S. troops are helping launch strikes on Russian territory, effectively making America a direct participant in the war. Ryabkov also accused European leaders of ruining the progress made during Trump's Alaska meeting with Putin, saying their destructive actions had completely drained any momentum toward peace. So why is Russia so afraid? Because Tomahawks pose a real danger to their war effort. According to the Institute for the Study of War, nearly 1,945 Russian military targets fall within the range of the 1,500-mile Tomahawk missiles. Those targets include command centers, ammunition depots, airfields, supply hubs, and even naval bases deep inside Russia. The institute explained that Ukraine could seriously weaken Russia's battlefield performance by striking key support areas behind the front lines that keep its operations running. In simpler terms, Ukraine could cut off the supply lines that keep Russian troops fed, armed, and fighting. So if Tomahawks are so powerful, why hasn't Trump sent them yet? What's stopping him? And what would happen if Ukraine actually received them? To be clear, no single weapon can decide a war. Experts agree that Tomahawks aren't a magic solution, but they are a major boost Ukraine urgently needs. Oleksandr Mereshko, the head of Ukraine's Parliamentary Foreign Affairs Committee, said, "We need Tomahawks. I don't believe in silver bullets, but they could be extremely important." William Freer, a research fellow at the Council on Geostrategy, added that even though the U.S. has several thousand Tomahawks in stock, it would probably send only a small number to Ukraine because it also needs to keep enough for potential conflicts in the Indo-Pacific region. Even a small number of Tomahawks would greatly improve Ukraine's ability to strike. John Foreman, a former UK defense attaché to Moscow and Kiev, said Tomahawks would be a great addition because they let Ukraine hit more Russian military targets at longer range. Dan Rice, who once worked for Ukraine's commander-in-chief, added that the exact number of missiles sent should be kept secret so Russia can't calculate the risk. Rice has strongly pushed for Ukraine to receive advanced U.S. weapons like Tomahawks, believing that uncertainty about their use can be a strategic advantage. But this isn't only about battlefield tactics, it's also about politics. Trump is using the idea of sending Tomahawks as a way to pressure Putin back into peace talks. John Foreman explained, Trump is hoping that even the threat of sending Tomahawks will push Putin back to the negotiating table, and Russia knows this. William Freer agreed, adding, if Tomahawks were actually sent to Ukraine, it would send a powerful political message that Russia may have lost its chance to influence Washington's pressure on Kiev. In simple terms, Putin needs to realize that his time to control the terms of this war is running out. If he delays, Ukraine could get weapons that would damage Russia's infrastructure. Trump said giving Tomahawks would be a new step of aggression toward Russia. He also asked reporters where Ukraine would use them, saying, "Where are they sending them?" I guess I would have to ask that question. His questions show he is thinking carefully about the risks. Each Tomahawk missile costs about $1.3 million. Sending dozens or hundreds of Tomahawks would be a big financial and military commitment. More importantly, Trump knows that giving these missiles could make Russia respond in unpredictable ways. The information in this video comes from many reliable places: statements from the White House and the Kremlin, interviews with Ukrainian officials, research by the Institute for the Study of War, and reporting from outlets like the Washington Post and Newsweek. Experts such as William Freer, John Foreman, and Ukrainian lawmaker Oleksandr Mereshko also shared their views on the strategy. These are not rumors. They are verified facts from the people directly involved in shaping this conflict. So where does that leave things now? President Trump stands at a crossroads. He can send Tomahawks, risking a major Russian response and possibly pulling American forces further into the war, or he can hold back and watch Ukraine continue to suffer under constant Russian attacks. Either choice will affect U.S. national security, global stability, and the future of Europe. Putin is watching. Zelensky is waiting, and the world is holding its breath. Now we want to hear from you. Do you think President Trump should send Tomahawks to Ukraine? Or would that push the war too far?